Fighting monks in.
Fist of Fury.
Yeah!
It's go time.
All right, today on the chopping block, Imperator Mar'gok, final boss of the Highmaul. Did I say it wrong again?
Imperator.
Imperator. I'll get it right one of these times. All right, Impregnator Mar'gok. Let's go. All right.
There you go. Good job.
Okay. All right, let's go to the Windwalkers. How do we handle this 18,000-year fight? Actually, I think this is going to be the first time when our explanation of the fight is shorter than the boss fight.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
We can try for that.
Right. Go, Air! Go!
Well, this a lot of single target, but when you get to the ads, at the transition phases, Storm, Earth, and Fire is really nice. And what I like to do is I'll put my little clone guy on the War Mage that everyone else is focusing on, and I'm going to go over to the other guy, because that's where we send the melee who get fixated, and I can just sit there, and it's a good time to just sit there and do 100 and something % damage for a while. Same thing with the next transition. War Mage, big guy, you sit in the one that dies last, or if you're leaving a War Mage up, you sit in the War Mage, you send a clone out to the Reaver. It's a really nice way to get the most amount of damage out. And make sure you're saving your kind of big cooldowns for that. If you're running Serenity, save Serenity for that. If you've got a Lucky Flip going, it's a great time for that. Have your Tiger's Eye Brew ready. Just be ready to burn them down. So, that's the SEF tip. What do you got there, Duke?
Well, this guy has a lot of intermission phases where basically he'll run off and ask some people to come in and help out. During each one of those... Shit, where the hell was I? I just lost myself on the page. I'm sorry. Apparently when I go off script, it's awful.
Okay, Transcendence.
That's it, Transcendence. Okay. So when he dives off into wherever he goes, he has 3 different points where he stands during those phases. Set your Transcendence as soon as you walk in the door to that first spot. Hit the button. Pop over, do a little bit extra damage. If you're in Chi Explosion, and you should be because it's wonderful when the ads come up, you want to just hit Expel, Harm, hit Chi Explosion while he's floating up in the air, and wait for him to come back down. The next time you're going to hit Transcendence is when he goes off to Phase 2. Where do you want Transcendence to be? As close to the center as possible because it'll get you to the ads faster. You want to do the same thing on Phase 3. The main thing, like Air said, is we're going to use Storm, Earth, and Fire. So you want to be as close to whatever War Mage your group has decided is going to stay up the longest. The other thing, if you need to move around a lot, and dear God, it feels like you're running around like crazy, is Tiger's Lust. Because you're just moving around from face to face. God forbid you have a group where every time the tank gets the little explodey debuff, you have to run away from him. If it's a warrior, they should just leap the hell out of there. You are doing a lot of running around, and there's going to be a lot of ads that are coming up, and there's a lot of things that you need to watch out for. Tiger's Lust is great for moving around, and it's even better for casting on somebody else who needs to move out of stuff, like standing in a mine and doesn't realize it yet. What else do we have, Air?
Well, what you got these knockbacks, Force Novas. Great time to use Roll. Great time to use Tiger's Lust. You're also going to want to look at maybe pop down Transcendence, because if you're not using for the other stuff, it works well for just avoiding roll back, Transcendence through, really take no damage. And I'm a big fan of Zen Meditation for staying alive, especially when you're fixated by the Reavers. It gives your healers a bit of time to not worry about you, because that's about a 50k tick per second. That's a great way to just make sure that's handy. If you want to glyph it as well, I think you could probably use it to roll through some of the Force Nova stuff, I imagine. I haven't tried that, but be a good one to use as well. And the only glyph I really changed for this one is it's a diffuse magic glyph. A lot of magic damage. The big hits are big, but I think you get more out of it by constant 90% reduced damage taken.
especially anytime a Force Nova comes up.
Yeah. So
'Cause
that's it.
that's really the biggest thing that's going to kill melee, especially Phase 4 Force Nova, where when it hits you, you explode and everyone around you is exploding. And you always have that one guy who's like, I was supposed to move?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't
my
realize
friend.
that.
Luckily, that is one of the biggest survivable skills of the Windwalker class, knowing the other morons in your raid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knowing who to stay on the other side of Imperator.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Like,
talk.
"Oh, this guy's next to me? No.
And Rolling Thunder, I didn't call any of you morons. No. Don't kill me. Oh, you killed me. All right.
You're dead.
I'm dead. All right.
I'm the only melee.
Oh, yeah, you are.
So
Huh.
if the melee in Rolling Thunder explodes,
I know who it is. Okay. Let's talk about Mistweaver on this. So, the tip I love to use on this is is Transcendence. You can avoid all damage of Force Nova altogether, in all except for that triple Nova phase, by using Transcendence. When you know it's coming up, you drop your clone right on the boss. You roll or Chi Torpedo back right as he's casting it, and then as soon as he pops it, you hit Pop Transcendence. You just completely avoid the mechanic whatsoever. So one counter to this as a healer is you have to pay attention and know the people in your raid if they're going to be taking a lot of damage. I like going Chi Torpedo on this fight because instead of doing the Transcendence and kind of avoiding all the damage, what I do is I back up as it's about to hit, and I aim myself that I'm going to hit the melee when they get pushed back, and I Chi Torpedo through the Force Nova, hitting all the melee. And then if the range are taking damage, the range should be all nice and stacked up in a nice little point, and you can Chi Torpedo roll, hit them, and roll back and hit them again. And so that's a nice little way to kind of heal up for free a good chunk of your raid. So that's one tip I like to use. Monkey-O, got anything? You are muted, sir.
All the things.
Yeah, I think Chief Torpedo is a fine option if you find yourself struggling on mana. All those talents in that row are really good for this fight. Like Zwen's really good. Rushing Jade Wind, if you can manage the mana, is really good. Like all those talents are great. Chi Torpedo, like you said, I use it like you do. I use roll like you do. I don't Transcendence hardly ever on that fight, even though I should. I prefer to just roll straight through the Force Novas.
Yeah, I do
It's more
Transcendence
fun,
mainly
and
on
I trust it
Windwalker.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I trust myself to roll through it more than I trust myself to place the Transcendence every time and in a good position that
Right.
I won't go back into
Yeah,
a
but
mine
roll
or
is
something.
always a backup in case you screw up. So.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. But yeah, for that fight, really, nothing really monk specific, I guess, because it's just a heal through everything fight. But at the end of the fight, you want to make sure for that last phase, you want to make sure you have enough mana to really bomb the Infinite Darkness debuffs that Mar'gok or Cho'Gall, I guess in this case, puts up on people. Monks are super good at healing that debuff up and putting a big shield in the raid. So you want to make sure like you have enough mana to fulfill that role because that's a really important part of the fight.
And
By
luckily,
rolling, enveloping mist and stuff.
luckily, Phase 1 makes it so we will guarantee we have mana.
Definitely. Yeah, but you can definitely spend it all in like phases 2 and 3 if
That's
you try
true.
hard.
Yeah, Phase 1, though, is really nice because you can just sit there and crane stance to your heart's content.
Yeah, definitely.
There's hardly any damage going out, and that damage can usually be healed by the other healers just fine. So you just sit there and just smack away, build up your stacks, and you can pump it out in the other phases just fine. So yeah, other than that, monk specific on that fight, when do you think is a good time to use Life Cocoon?
Me, so the way I use Life Cocoon is I try and save it for when the tanks call for it, because our tanks are usually pretty good about calling for cooldowns, but they never call for Life Cocoon. I give them shit about it all the time. But we usually have so many cooldowns to use that Life
Right.
Cocoon's kind of, last in that priority. But I use it now, since they haven't been calling for it all that much, I use it when I just see them low, because it just works as a big power word shield. So
Right.
if you see them low, just throw it on it and, use it often.
So there's no
use it
really
as much as you can.
preemptive usage on those fight for it?
So, well, the big parts are when the ads are tanking, or the tanks are tanking, like the Reavers, or
Yeah.
that's like the most dangerous part for the tanks is the Reavers. Or if one of the tanks doesn't taunt in time to reset the stacks on the boss, things like that. You can use it at those times, kind of whenever you feel they're going to take big hits. And they don't have to call for a cooldown.
Is there a good usage of revival in this fight?
I use it. It's so you ideally, and I guess this is not really ideal. You'd use it right before, or right after somebody jumps into a mine.
Right.
So if you want to call that ideal or not, I don't know. But that's
Yeah, it erases
it can
one
save
mistake
you. I mean, it
there.
can save your raid. Yeah, it could definitely save your raid if you do it right. You know, at times where we've set it up just to say, all right, you're revivaling when this ad's about to die. It's like, okay, I'll revival just as this ad's about to die. The ad dies, knocks people back into a mine, and oh, well, okay. Well, we healed up as soon as it died. I revivaled, and they hit the mine right after that. So we would have wiped if I hadn't revivaled.
Right.
But mostly for that fight, the intermissions are a decent time to use it, depending on your strat with the little ads, you know, that explode.
Yeah,
If
that's
people
usually
blow up
when I
too
use
many
it.
ads instantly, you know, it can definitely hurt a lot. So that's a decent time for it. Anytime during any of the phases where the melee take huge Force Nova hits, or I think it's just a good cooldown for that fight because people are constantly moving, being pushed back by the Nova. It's a really good healer cooldown for that.
Yeah, it's a.
Oh,
go ahead. No, you.
I would say in the last phase, even though revival does that dispel mechanic, it will not dispel the infinite darkness debuff. So you can feel free to use it to heal a bunch up at time, or just heal the raid, and you'll still have the debuffs to dispel.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember when I was when we were doing heroic on this, and someone stepped into a mine, and I remember saying in Mumble, I'm like, okay, one mistake, now erased.
Every 3 minutes.
Revival.
We can clear one mine every 3 minutes.
Right.
It's just every monk that we have. New strat.
All right. So when we do the all monk raid, it's like we can just step in mines all we want. That's cool.
Just clear the board.
Right. Just clear the board. Don't care. All right. Useful talents here. Diffuse magic, just like the Windwalker said. This one is super useful. If you're targeted by fixate, it's good. For ads during the second or third intermission, it's good. Getting through novas or those orbs in phase 4, the tanks spit out. Good for that. It's just no other reason to take any other talent on that row. Pool of Mists. Chi Explosion is very useful in early phases because you're doing a lot of cranes dancing, but the craziness of phase 4 is the biggest test of this fight. So you have to go Pool of Mists. There's no other choice in this. But as Monkio said, Chi Torpedo, Zhuan, Rushing Jade Wind, all of them pretty darn useful. Pick whichever one you want at that point. So, all right, let's go to Guanshu. Brewmaster time.
Okay, so I'd like to set the disclaimer that I am going off what LeBlue has told me and what he's written down.
So if you disagree with this, take it up.
If you disagree with it, take it to LeBlue. That being said, I try as I might to channel LeBlue. I can only really channel his evil twin, Lared, who, like LeBlue, who has the grumpy cat as his spirit animal, Lared has the soft kitty spirit animal.
Soft kitty with the lowest voice ever.
Yes.
Yes. So I will do my best to kind of go through this stuff. So basically, clever use of monk mechanics, like a lot of people are saying, and actually a lot of the fights I feel, is transcendence. It can be used to get out with the fortified mark that roots you. You can also use this to get yourself away from the ranged group on displacement, as well as, it's weird, as well so you don't accidentally run yourself into a mine trying to run the Mark of Chaos away.
That is like the meanest mechanic in existence. That every time you learn this fight, you have that one tank who's just like, wait, I got teleported. Where am I? Why is everyone near me? What's going on? Boom. And so, yeah, that's like, it is so mean. Okay, anyways, back to you, sir. Sorry.
A key thing to remember is Heroic Garrosh and how monks kited ads to infinity and beyond.
They will never forget.
While more viable in Mythic and normal and Heroic, you can have a monk kite around ads from the intermission and spawn from the replication aberrations that Mar'gok spawns. This will greatly reduce incoming tank damage and healing requirements, while also allowing you to have raid cooldowns as raid saves rather than using them to pop most of the intermission ads at the same time. As a backup, I went over to Sunny's Art of War, which is where I use anytime I have any questions about brewmastering, because she pretty much knows everything about it.
It's a good resource.
Yeah, it's a great.
I believe
piece
we
of-
called it Brewmaster Mart.
Yeah, Brewmaster. See,
Brew
that
Mart.
makes it seem cheap. Honestly, it's more like
True.
Brewmaster and
Brewmaster Boutique.
No, it's an emporium.
Brewmaster
Really.
Emporium. Okay.
And you know, I checked the blue stuff, and that pretty much matches Sunnier, so I'll go with it. So, useful talents and glyphs, healing elixirs, which I use anyways on pretty much every fight at this point.
You guys are popping so much brew, it triggers on cooldown, so it's not a bad.
It's nice. It pops on cooldown. So, Zuen for normal, heroic, and rushing Jade Wind is an option for mythic. Soul Dance isn't bad for the ads on mythic. Otherwise, your choice would be Serenity or Chi Explosion, and that's what LeBlue says. What I say is Chi Explosion. Chi Explosion. He does add that Serenity has a distinct advantage of allowing you to use Breath of Fire to do a lot of damage on ads during the intermission if you tank them and allow them to stack up. But Chi Explosion does AoE damage too, so I will go with that one instead.
Okay.
Remember, it's Kagrai_LeBlue.
Yeah.
If you have any complaints at all about anything I just said.
Okay.